coffee.
Jump in. Jump. Good girl. What's going on, YouTube? Let me kill that air conditioner a little bit. That's a little... Oh, there we go. Today, we're going to the place that was temporarily the capital of Arkansas. Got Paula with me back here. Come with us. Like I said, today we're at Rondo Cemetery. This is a cemetery here outside of Texarkana that at one time this area served as the capital of Arkansas. It's a long story. It's kind of a weird story, but it's a nice little walk, and I've got Paula with me, so we're gonna walk around and talk about it a little bit. Now, during the Civil War, the capital of Arkansas was a town called Washington. It wasn't in Little Rock at the time. It was a town called Washington, which we call Old Washington. And during the Civil War, the Union was getting far too close to Old Washington. So they decided to move the records and all of the books and everything that they had further west. You can't go much further west than this area. If you go too much further, you're in Texas. So they moved all the records out here to a community known as Rondo. Now, back then, Rondo was a thriving area. Today, there's not much left but this cemetery and a church. But back then, I guess, at one point, they had 5 general stores. They had a whole lot of stuff going on here. So the powers that be decided to bring everything here. It's a nice little park and cemetery, and it's got a couple interesting things here that I'll show you. It's kind of unique and kind of has its own flavor. So, starting with that tank right there. How's that? This tank has been here as long as I can remember. It's from World War II. I believe it's a Sherman, small Sherman tank. I'm not real sure. I'm not 100%. I'm not great with tanks, but that's what I think it is. It's not very big. You can climb inside of it, but I am not climbing on that thing today because I'm sure it's hot. So it looks like it's had a paint job since the last time I was out here, though. And they did a few improvements on it, so it looks pretty nice. There are a couple of odd things in this cemetery. Some of the graves are extremely old, which is pretty neat. There is a grave here that actually has a mailbox at the grave, and if I can remember where it is and find it, I'll show that to you. It's a little different. I don't want to be in any way disrespectful to the family of this young man, but I think it speaks a lot to how much he was loved that his family put a mailbox on his grave, and still delivers him letters and different things to the mailbox. So hopefully I can remember where that's at and find it for you. Paula, who is a Pyrenees mix, absolutely loves to go on adventures with me. She can be a handful, but she's a great dog and just a sweetheart. She's my friend. She likes to travel with me. She's far better looking than I am, so I figure you'd rather look at her than me any day of the week. So I'll probably shoot a lot more video of her. Where are we going, girl? Apparently we're circling the cemetery now because that's how Paula wants to go. So that's what we're going to do. I'm not fighting with her. You can if you want to. This is pretty amazing. Daisy Turner. That's April 4th, 1913 to May 14th, 2013. 100 years old. That's quite a life. Can you imagine the things that woman saw in her lifetime? Amazing. It just blows my mind sometimes. The amount of history people live through. I'm 54, and I've seen a lot in my life and a lot of changes in the world and a lot of advances and strange things. But I can't imagine being 100. That's amazing. I salute you, Daisy Turner. I salute you. Now, I don't particularly believe in ghosts. I don't really know. But a little while ago, Paula, who never gets spooked, turned around and barked and growled. I wish I would have been filming at the time. Just like she saw something, and there was nothing there. So, you take that as you will. I mean, she doesn't do that, though, so a little bit surprised by that. So anyway, I'll continue on here and see what we see. I'm wondering if these crab trees that are buried here are any relation to Smoky Crabtree, who's pretty famous for the Fouke monster, legendary Bigfoot creature. I'm going to do another video on that. I plan to, because it's a pretty interesting thing. I'll do a video both on the actual legend itself and the movie. 2 movies that were made about it, but I'll be focusing on one, which is my favorite. But anyway, a lot of crab trees around here, and I'll bet you they're related. It's sometimes these old headstones and stuff are just really interesting to look at, and just think about the people that have lived before us and after us. If you hear some guys hollering, there's some guys where they're working on a house. So you hear some. It's not ghosts, I promise. It's just some guys working on a house. Anyway. Let's get up here to where the another thing I want to show you is right up on top of this, right up on top of that hill right there. You can see it off in the distance. Let's head that way. I'll let you pause the video here if you want to read this. Basically, it's talking about the Greyhounds, which were Texas Volunteer Infantry that came here to help out General McCullough. They the 19th Regiment, and they camped here briefly and rested on their way to Little Rock, with orders to capture Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas, which is a pretty big area. So that's kind of a neat deal. But anyway, so they camped out in this spot. There's another marker right over here, which is a National Register of Historic Places marker. And then, of course, because people are awful, we've got trash and stuff sitting here, which I'll pick up and take to a trash can. It kills me. But this is in memory of 85 unknown Confederate soldiers in the war between the states, erected by the Albert Pike Chamber. This was put up in 1962. There are all of these markers. Each marker represents 5 unknown Confederate soldiers. Now, I always assumed these guys were killed in battle, but I think if we head down here, come on, Paula, come on, girl. We head down here, I believe that they died of smallpox outbreak at their camp. Here's one, and you can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I don't claim to know everything. This one talks about 1864 when they moved the state capitol at Washington. It was the Confederate state capitol. They moved the entire state archives to Rondo, and James Abraham store. Remember, I said earlier there were about 5 general stores. Well, I guess James Abraham had one of them, and they moved the press and type for the Washington Telegraph here too, for safekeeping. Because back then, now we're so spoiled with our instant communication and our phones and everything. Well, then the newspaper was the way people found things out. And it was the only way. So if you lost your typesetting equipment and lost your printing press, you were done. So that's it's interesting. History is amazing to me. The things we go, and I ramble. That's why I'm calling this channel Ramblin' Ted. I know I ramble, and if you can fast forward, but I like to talk about stuff that I know very little about sometimes. And this is just interesting. So yeah, some of the Confederate soldiers detailed to guard the government records died and were buried in the Rondo Cemetery before the records were returned to Washington. And I believe that it was some kind of a disease, and I cannot remember exactly what it was. I want to say it was a smallpox outbreak, which is kind of fitting considering what we're going through right now. But if you look down the row, there's a row. Every one of these white stones represents 5 soldiers who died in service to, something they believed in. Whether we believe in it or not, or agree with it or not, it's part of history. And they were fighting for something they believed in, whether right or wrong. And I don't want to get political about it. I might not agree with it, what they were fighting for, but at the time, these men were doing what they thought was right. And the world is full of men who did things they thought were right that turned out to be wrong. So you can take that as you will. Anyway, I do believe that anyone who served their country in some way, shape, or form and passed away deserves our respect in some form, and it deserves for us to look back and learn from history and not repeat it. So anyway, that's my soapbox for the day. Now, let me see if I can find for you the mailbox after I go over here and clean up this trash that some worthless person left. I'll continue on in a second. So I lost my hiking partner. Lisa came to get Paula and take her on another adventure. So I'm on my own now, so we can just walk around. I believe, if I remember right, that the grave with the mailbox is up there somewhere. So let's go this way, and I threw away the trash that people left because people are just trashy. They should be ashamed of themselves, honestly. But yeah, during the Civil War, this was for a short time the capital of Arkansas. I wanted to make my first video about this because it's relatively easy, and I'm new at this. We'll see how this all goes. Oh, there's something really cool up here. You may have seen it earlier for a second. big old artillery gun. Well, it's not that big, but it is an artillery gun, and it's been here as long as I can remember too. I moved to this area in 1985, and the artillery gun and this tank have been here ever since I can remember. Now, one time the tank looked terrible, and so did the artillery gun. But they've done a lot to clean it up. Now, I thought that the young man with the mailbox by his grave was right out here. And I am not seeing it, so I don't know if they have removed the mailbox, which is possible, which would be kind of a shame. I thought it was kind of a neat thing that he had a mailbox there, and people continued to bring this young man letters, and sometimes just different things they would leave in his mailbox for him, and I remember thinking that was pretty cool, but I do not see it now. So I'm going to assume it has been removed, which is just kind of a shame, really. Little sad. If I remember right, he was right over here somewhere. But I do not see anything like that now. I'll keep looking a little bit, but it was pretty obvious. I mean, it wasn't like it was even hidden anywhere. You could look right at it. You could see it from the road. So I'm guessing they've removed the mailbox, which is just kind of sad. Huh. Yep, it's kind of sad. Now, this was a location up until a few years ago of an old church building that had been here, oh my man, I don't even know how long. But I came in this building, took some pictures at one time, and if I can find them, I'll try and put a few in here. It's a neat old building, and there was actually a piano still inside it for years. For years and years there was a piano, and 1947, 1949, in memory of Rondo pioneers. I don't know if that had to do with the church, but it was a pretty neat old building, but it did unfortunately fall into disrepair, and got taken down because that's what has to happen, you know. You just can't have people like me crawling around inside of things and having a building fall on them. That would not be good. All right, let me walk over here, and I'm gonna get some shots for you guys of some of the really old graves and some of the neat wrought iron fencing and stuff. I know there are a lot of people like me who are kind of intrigued by old ancient cemeteries, so let's take a look at some of that stuff. Stay with me. that's going to do it for me from Rondo Cemetery. I hope you learned something. If you didn't learn anything, I hope you at least saw some pretty scenery and didn't get too spooked like I did in there when my dog went crazy. But anyway, if you like what you saw, click that like and subscribe button. Was I even on my face? Yeah, I'm horrible. Okay, you don't want to see my face anyway. Click the like and subscribe button. I'll have more videos coming soon, and it's going to do it for me from the Rondo Cemetery. Remember, if you come to cemeteries or places like this, have some respect, have a little bit of reverence. Don't leave trash laying around. Just, it costs nothing. It costs absolutely nothing to be a decent person in this world. Remember that. Anyway, till the next video.